Hi, my dear CAE students. As you can see, the topic in Unit 1 is the conditionals. You already have an idea of what the conditionals are and how they work and in which situations they can be used. But today, in this unit, the first unit of our book, Objective Advanced, we are going to deal with the 0, first, second, third conditions and the mixed conditionals. First of all, we have the zero conditional. When do we use the zero conditional? It is used to talk about common states or events and things which are real or generally true. Summarizing, we may say for things which are always or most of the time true. Which is the formulae, which is the structure we use if or unless or any other particle, such as when, plus the present simple in the if clause. And then in the main clause, we use the present simple again. An example of the zero conditional could be, if a plane is out of fuel, it falls. If you touch fire, it burns. If you put some ice inside the fridge, it gets frozen. If you throw a ball, it bounces. If you see or take a look at the sun, it hurts your eyes, and many other examples connected to general truth or things which are always true. Generally, it has to do with laws of nature, as you can imagine, because of the examples I have just given you. Moving on, we have the first conditional, which is used to talk about possible future states or events. We can say possibilities in the present or in the future. Likelihood in the present or in the future, which is the formulae or the structure we use in the if clause. We use if plus the present simple, the present perfect, or the present continuous. Three alternatives. In the main clause, we use a future tense such as be going to or will, the present continuous with future tense, or the imperative. Let's take a look at some examples. If we lose the match on Saturday, that is the if clause, and we have lose written in the present simple. In the main clause, I will be so disappointed. We use the future simple with the modal verb will. Another example, you won't get an interview, that is the main clause, where we can appreciate again the modal verb will, but in the negative, won't, which is future simple. Unless you have filled in an application form. Unless you have filled in an application form, that is the if or the unless clause, where instead of the typical present simple, we can find the present perfect, have filled. The third example, in the if clause, we have the present continuous. If you're watching TV, then in the main clause, you will see him on the news. That is the main clause again with the future simple with will. As you can see in the three examples, I used will or won't to represent the future simple, but in the if clause or in the unless clause, I varied. In the first one, I use the present simple. In the second, I use the present perfect. And in the third one, I use the present continuous. Moving on to the second conditional, which is used to talk about unlikely or imaginary states or events in the present or in the future. We can also say unlikely or hypothetical situations in the present. Hypothetical situations in the present. Not in the past, in the present. What do we use? The formulae, the structure is if plus the past simple, that is the typical one. But remember that we are at an advanced level, so you need to know that after if you can also use the past continuous. I'm talking about the if clause. Then in the main clause, we have the modal verbs would, could, might, should, plus the bare infinitive. So the verb without to. For example, if I was or if I were 30 years younger, I would emigrate. I'd emigrate. As you can see, we have the modal verb contracted here, but it is the modal verb would, plus the bare infinitive. So emigrate without to. We never say I would to emigrate. That doesn't exist. That cannot happen. So I'd emigrate with the modal verb would plus the bare infinitive. I wouldn't apply for that job Again, the modal verb but in the negative, and then the very infinitive applied. That is the main clause. Unless I thought I had a good chance of getting it. Unless I thought I had a good chance of getting it, that is the unless or the if clause where we can appreciate the past simple. Okay? Then, the third example, I would write it out again if I were you. Would, again the modal verb followed by the very infinitive right, and in the if clause, the past simple. Remember that you can say if I were or if I was you, and the difference is that if you use were, it means that you have a higher level of English, and was is like neutral average. Okay, let's move to the third conditional, which is used to talk about an imaginary state or event in the past. It is also used to talk about regrets. We can say that we refer to hypothetical situations in the past, things or events that never happened in the past. Well, which is the formulated structure? We use if plus the past perfect in the if clause, and then in the main clause we can use would, could, might, or should, same as in the second conditional, but the modal verbs are followed by the particle have plus the past participle. Have and the past participle is the so-called perfect infinitive. Okay, so we use if plus the past perfect in the if clause, and in the main clause we use would, could, might, or should plus have plus the past participle. For example, if we had studied other cultures at school, had studied the if clause in the past perfect, we might have been more confident about traveling. Well, we have the verb might plus have plus been, that is the past participle. Okay, let's move on. Mixed conditionals. Different conditional forms are mixed. Generally, the second and the third conditional. The third and the second, or the last case is the first and the third and the first conditional. Okay, let's analyze the three cases. The first case, a third conditional cause is sometimes linked to a second conditional result to show the imaginary present result of an imaginary past event or situation. If my parents had never met, which is not possible because they have already met, I wouldn't be here now. That is not possible because I'm already here. So, here we are showing a third conditional cause linked to a second conditional result. This is if my parents had never met. This is the third conditional cause. I wouldn't be here now. This is the second conditional result. Let's move on. A second conditional cause is sometimes linked to a third conditional result to show how an ongoing situation, so a situation that is still going on, that still continues, produce an effect in the past. So situations in the present that affect the past. For example, if I knew about computers, it means that I don't know about computers. I would have applied for that job. It means that I didn't apply for that job. Here we have a combination of a second conditional cause with the third conditional result. Second conditional cause, third conditional result. So the opposite, the other way around of the first case. And the third one, if clause referring to the present or future with the main clause referring to the past. And if clause referring to the present or future, this one, if I don't like sweet things, with the main clause referring to the past. You shouldn't have ordered. That is the clause referring to the past. If I don't like sweet things is a first conditional clause. Shouldn't have ordered, third conditional clause. Here we have the if clause, and this is the main clause where we can appreciate the third conditional referring to the past. And this one is conditional type 1, where we can appreciate the clause referring to the present or the future. Okay? Well, I hope this material full of theoretical framework is useful for you, especially for the activities that you will be in charge of doing later on. Okay? We will be in touch in the Zoom conference or in the or whichever application we use. We will be in contact, and in that session, live session, you will have the chance to ask your questions. If you have any doubt, that will be the opportunity to get rid of those doubts. Okay, see you in the next class.